All right, here we go. So video number 2 of 23, lesson 23, and we're working on dividing numbers by 1/10, as you can see right in front of you. So we're going to look at 7 divided by 1/10, okay? 7 divided by 1/10. So let's rewrite it as a fraction, and you can see that right here, 7 divided by 1/10. 7 divided by 1/10 is equal to 7 divided by 1/10. So think about that. How many tenths are there in 7? Or how many groups of 1/10 are there in 7? Okay. We can look at a tape diagram to help us out with that. Let's pull up this one. And all right, so there you can see 7. This is 1 of 7, right? And that 1 is broken into 10 parts, and one of them is 1/10. So how many 1/10ths are there in 7? Well, in 1, there's going to be 10 of them, right? Does that make sense? If this is 1, yeah, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if there's 10 tenths in 1, then that would make 20 tenths, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. How many tenths are there in 7? There are 70. Okay, do you see that? All right, let's go back to our page. And how many groups of 1/10 make 1? We talked about that over here, right? There was 10. 10 groups of 1/10 make 1. So how many are in 7? There are 70. Okay, good. So 7 divided by 1/10, or 7 divided by 1/10, right? It can be fraction or decimal, is 70. Now notice that your quotient, your answer is 70, but your dividend is only 7, right? Why is our quotient so large if we're only dividing 7? Well, hopefully you saw it right there on our tape diagram, because there's 10 pieces in each one, right? Because we're talking about tenths. Okay, now let's look at 7 4/10 divided by 1/10. And we can make it a fraction as well, right? 7 4/10 divided by 1/10. Okay, now think about it. There were 70 in 7. How many tenths are in 4/10? Right? How many groups of 1/10 are in 4/10? Well, we can count them, right? 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10. So in each, there's 4 groups of 1/10 in 4/10. Yeah, that makes sense? Okay, good. So 7 4/10 would have 74 pieces. So 7 4/10 divided by 1/10 is 74. Does that make sense? Okay, awesome. Let me just make sure I'm on track here. All right, let's look at these 2 questions. Grab my pen. Okay. 12 divided by 1/10. That's going to be number 1 on your Edpuzzle. And then 12 6/10 divided by 1/10. That's going to be number 2 on your Edpuzzle. Okay, and don't worry, the numbers will be in there for you. But when you're going to do your Edpuzzle, think about right here the patterns that we just looked at. 7 4/10 would be 74, right? 7 4/10 would be 74. So think about how many tenths are in 1, and now you have 12. And then think about how many tenths are in 6/10, and then you have what you had for the answer of number 1 plus the 6/10. Okay, here's number 1 and number 2 of your Edpuzzle, so you can do those now. Okay, and we're going to continue on Hold on just a second. I want to make sure that I'm not going into too many videos. Yep. We're going to continue on, and we're going to talk about dividing by 100th, right? Okay, so let's look at that. Let me clear this screen here if I can. There we go. Okay, so let's go here to 100th. Same thing that we did where we looked at 1/10. We're thinking about 100th. So we have 7 divided by 100th is the same as 7 divided by 100th, right? Okay, very similar to what we were doing, except now we have 100th. So let's look at our tape diagram, and you can see that we have 7 parts, right? And each of those tenths has 10 pieces, right? So inside of our 1, right, just like we had on the last one, this is the same as 1. But now we could have 10 tenths or 100 hundredths inside of each one, right? Think of that block that I'm always showing you and how it's broken into 100 pieces, right? Same thing. You could show it this way, 10 pieces inside of each one, right? Or we could draw lines across. If we drew 10 lines across, then each of those would be 100th, right? Pretty small. Okay, so one of those is 100th, and there's 100 of them. So how many hundredths we're going to be in? 7, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, right? Okay, very good. So let's go back to here, and you see that there are 700 hundredths. 7 divided by 100 is 700. Okay, now what about 7 and 4/10? Does this sound familiar? This is exactly the same thing that we did with tenths, but now we have 7 and 4/10 divided by 100. Rewrite it as a fraction so we can think about it that way. And then we think, how many groups of 100 make 7? Or how many groups of 100th make 4/10? And how many groups of 100ths make 7 and 4/10? Okay, so we have our same pattern. And how many groups of 100 make 7? We just talked about that, right? 700. Okay, sorry about that, but we still have our tape diagram over here. And how many hundredths are in 4/10? Okay, so 1/10, each tenth has 10 pieces, right? So if each tenth has 10 pieces, then 40 groups of 100 makes 4/10. Okay, does that make sense? Because 1/10 is going to have 10 pieces. Okay, and how many groups of 100 make 7 and 1/4? That would be 740. So you're just going to put those two together. You see how that works? Okay. And here, if you need a little bit more visuals to help you with that, you can see here 4/10, right, is also 40 hundredths because each tenth is 10 hundredths. Okay. You could also see it this way. 1/10 is 10 hundredths. So 4/10 is 40 hundredths. Okay. It's also the way we think about it with decimals. 4/10, right, is the same as 40 hundredths. Okay. Think about that for a minute. 4/10, 40 hundredths. Okay. Nice. Yeah. We are building our brains. Okay. So 7 and 4/10 divided by 100 is 740. And 749, 7 and 49 hundredths is going to be 749 hundredths. Okay. 9 hundredths, right? 9. Okay. Very interesting. All right. Now I want you to work with a partner let's just, well, I think we already did that for 1 and 2. So let's leave that. And the next one is going to be in our next video. Yeah. So we'll see it on our next video. Let's go ahead and go back to some funny videos, give you something to laugh about, and then work hard. Oops. All right. More videos later. Thanks, guys. Aloha.